Hello, Carrie here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do watercolour flowers that you can cut out and use in your art journals. Here are some I've done before, some leaves and some feathers. But I'm going to be concentrating just on the flowers. So first of all, I start by drawing out petal shapes. Willy-nilly, I don't want them to be perfect. I want them to be a bit wabi-sabi. So I'm just drawing some I do it to a centre, and then I draw 4 petals either side, and then I fill in the ones in between. So easy. I like to have some on the corner because they're very useful in journal pages because they fill up an awkward space. So I do a couple of those. In fact, I think I do 3 in total in the end, and they're very simple to do. I like a half-page one as well, so I'm drawing a larger one on there. It's very easy to do. I'm just doing another little one here. Try to fill up all the space that's on this piece of watercolour paper. The watercolour paper is nothing special. It's dirt cheap from a cheap shop because it's nice and thin. And I'm just doing another corner one there. And I've decided to put some leaves on. You don't need to, I just thought I would. Draw a few dots in the centre of that one. And I'm going to do some leaves down here as well. Do some up there, and they're a bit messy, so never mind. They look roughly leaf-like. If I don't like them, I can cut them off, can't I? So I've got my watercolours and a watercolour brush, and I'm just wetting the petal shapes with just pure water. Now I'm mixing in some light blue, and I'm just dabbing that into the centre, the middle of the petals. And now I'm getting some opera rose, which I'm putting at the top, and I'm letting the 2 colours run together. This is the wet and wet technique. It's very simple, and it allows the watercolour to do its own thing. You don't really have much control over it. And now I'm putting some bright yellow and some bright orange in the centre, and again I'm letting the colours run in together. On this big one I'm going to do some nice scarlet centre, which is almost an orange colour, and then I'm going to add yellow on the outside. Again, letting the colours run together. I do a little bit of encouraging it along with the paintbrush. And in the centre, because I messed up with the ink, I'm just going in with a dark colour, and I'm letting that flow out as well. Now I'm going to work on, which one I'm going to work on? This one at the bottom, I think. So again, wetting the petals, doing 3 at a time, otherwise it dries up too quickly. Then I'm adding some of this beautiful colour in the middle. Doing the same with the next 3. And then that odd one in the middle there. The colour is flowing out beautifully there. And I'm just going in with a sharp implement, and I'm just scratching very lightly, and it gives the impression of veins in petals, because some petals have veins. And now I'm adding some of the light blue on the tips. In fact, you could leave the tips white. I'm putting a beautiful orange colour in the centre there. Got a bit of paint on there, dab that off. And I'm going to work in this one. So I'm using some Oh, alizarin crimson in the centre there. I've not pre-wetted the petals, so now I'm using just a watery brush to move the colour to the outside of the petals. And now I'm adding some of the Opera Rose. It is my favourite colour. I love it so much. Unfortunately, it's not very light fast, so it's not so good for a wall painting, but it's great for art journal that doesn't get exposed to a lot of sunlight. Pretty. Just dabbing in some more alizarin crimson in the centre, letting it flow out. Oh, I love that effect. I'm just marking some impressions of veins, which will soften as the paint dries. And now I'm doing a little orange one. This is going to be a bit fiddly to cut out, that one, isn't it? I shall do my best. Just drawing the paint out towards the tip. Dabbing a little bit of yellow in there. I'll be looking like Foxy's tails. And now I need to swivel the board around, or I'll get paint all over my hand. And don't like what's happened with that one, but never mind, I'll deal with that later. And I'll just add another petal there. And I'm wetting the petals again. Ultramarine blue, I think, with Opera Rose. And an orange centre. That was an easy one. Now this one, I've decided to try some lovely cerulean blue I've got. But in the end it only looks green, so I have to go over it later. I should have just left it as the colour in white, I think, but I've added yellow and that's what spoils it. Should have just added blue or left it. So I had yellow, now it looks too green. Never mind. I'm able to rescue it later. And some more of that orangey yellow for the centre. Now I'm going to go in and do something with this one. I'm going to encourage it to the centre to blossom out a little bit. So I'm adding some more of the dark colour around the edges and encouraging it around. That looks a little less weird. It was a bit untidy earlier, and now I'm going in to reinforce with some more of the dark red, the crimson, scarlet I mean. It's actually cadmium red. And encourage the colour to flow by using a wet paintbrush and pulling the colour towards the end of the petals. I do think I overworked this one in the end, actually. I think they are better if you leave them alone and let them do their own thing. So I don't know if I'll use this one, but it doesn't matter. So now I'm going to go in and do some finishing off. Now I'm going to do the leaves. So I'm doing the same thing actually with the leaves. I'm just wetting them. And then I'm adding a bit of yellow. And then I'm adding some blue. And I'm letting the colours run together. I do that on all of them. If you were painting autumn coloured leaves, you could do the same with autumn colours like reds and yellows and oranges and browns. But I'm thinking summer. A little bit too much paint on there, I had to pull it off. And now I'm adding a little bit of dark colour around the edge to give it a bit of depth. I hope this gives you an idea of how to do them. If you're not familiar with watercolours, honestly, they're great. You can't go wrong with them. Actually, you can use watered down acrylic. You can use gouache. You can use inks. It doesn't have to be watercolour. Use what you have. we can't go shopping to the hobby shops at the moment. And actually I've got some Inktense pencils on the left of me there. You can actually use Inktense pencils, draw them in and then wet them. To dab that one off, it was a bit too much paint on that. That's better. Give them a quick dry. Because what I want to do now is go in with the pen and reinforce some of the lines. I think it finishes them off. It gives that illustrated feel. And I don't go over the lines very carefully, I'm just doing it very roughly actually. And sometimes I work in the middle of some of the flowers as well. And I don't stick very carefully to the lines. I want this haphazard look. Oh, decided to add a bit of yellow in there. And I'm adding some veins in the leaves so they look more leaf-like. I like this bit, it's kind of fun. This is where I go in and change this. I put on some blue. It was looking too green. I don't want a green flower. A bit more yellow there. And it's a bit brighter. I like going for the bright colours for my journals. Not always, but for these journals I'm working currently, I want bright colours. There we go, I'm just finishing off with some more inking now. This really finishes this one off. Brings it all together. There you have it. Now I'm going to show you how I use them in an art journal. This one is just my one of my junk journals. And I'm just adding some nice colours. I quite like these teal colours here. They're from a leaflet advertising a credit card. They came through the post and a bit of fabric. Some more of that lovely teal. And on the right hand side I've got a picture of a paint palette from an art catalogue. And I'm going in with some paint colours now. I'm just using a catalogue for a palette here. The colours I'm using are Tharlo Blue mixed with white, Crimson mixed with white, and Raw Sienna mixed with white. So I've got some nice pastel colours, and now I'm drawing some marks with the oil pastels. And some acrylic ink, paint through the bottle. Right, so now I have already cut out 2 flowers, and I'm afraid I wasn't doing it so you could see on screen, so I've cut that bit out. But I'm remembering to put my hands forward so you can see. It's because I'm short-sighted, and I've cut the third one out, and I'm deciding where it goes, and it's going to go on the top there. So because it's on thin, cheap watercolour paper, I can glue it down with glue stick. And there, I like that. Just dab that down. And here's the finished page. So here's my book now, and these are the 2 pages finished. I really enjoyed using those flowers. There they are. Love them. And I've got another one on this page as well, but I've not finished that page yet. But this one I have, and it's been my art therapy. So I hope you've enjoyed watching that, and I hope you give it a go yourself. Thank you. Bye.